69, today's episode. That brings me to my subject today. I want to talk a little bit about cryptocurrency. It's not going to be a long segment. I just want to kind of, I said at the beginning of the show that you cannot cure willful ignorance, but you can cure ignorance. If a person is remotely open to learning something new, and they'll look at something with any level of reasonable discernment, they can learn. And I think that cryptocurrency is something that you need to learn about. And I want to kill the first and primary objection. Well, it could crash, so don't go put $20,000 or $200,000 in it. I'm not saying to do that. Most people I know that talk about this are not saying to do that, and that's why I want to talk about the fact that I recommend it because it works. So if I have $500 worth of cryptocurrency and it crashes, whatever that means to you, I'm not really that worried about it. The price of silver has crashed in the past. It absolutely has, and it will again, right? It absolutely will. There's no way around that. You will see any commodity will go through cycles where it goes up and down. So the person is always saying that usually runs, the next thing is, I put all my money in precious metals. Well, that's stupid. Don't put all your money in anything. And it is much more, precious metals have a place, but they are a terrible system of currency. Because let's say you want something from me and you live in Idaho. I get silver in the mail for MSB and I honor it and I like it and I do it and it makes me happy when I get it. Don't get me wrong, but it costs you more money than it makes sense to mail me silver in the mail. And it's slow and tedious. You can pay with Bitcoin or Bitcoin Cash or Ethereum or whatever you want in seconds, and it works. And that's the big thing, is it works. But we are going into a place, because let's do the next objection. But if they shut the internet off, you are screwed anyway. I'm not even going to get into the technical mumbo jumbo of how it doesn't make your Bitcoin go away, but it doesn't. All right. If you have no internet communications in the world for whatever reason, you have bigger problems than how much money you think you have in Bitcoin. This is like worrying about, whether or not you're going to be able to feed your goldfish when there's a trucker strike and you didn't store any food for yourself. It's such a minor concern in the totality of what that means, right? You shut off this is like worrying that they're going to intentionally shut off the power grid, which would probably be the only way that if the power grid did go down, then you couldn't get on the internet. Now, if you have all your money in cryptocurrency and that goes out, you have a problem. But if you have all your money in cryptocurrency, I think you already had a problem to begin with, which was a bad decision. So these things are not relevant to the discussion at all. But you are going to see not a pull back of technology, but a continuous ongoing expansion of technology. Because all of the things that the people you're worried about, and you should be, want to do, are contingent upon the continuous expansion of technology. So it is not impossible that you could see a technology dark age, I guess, of some sort, or some duration. But the preponderance of probability is you can bet that other than short-term disruptions, there will be an internet. Which is how all of this shit happens. Well, then I hope you don't use a banking system, because that's how money moves from one place to another in the bank, through this method of communication, right? So, that's just not a thing. But what's going on in the world today is a movement toward a cashless society with a centralized currency system like we have now. But when you go to cashless, the fact that you're using Fed coin and somebody's using Euro coin will become almost meaningless, because the ultimate central authority is the banking system that is global, and hence you now have a true cashless global currency that can be immediately switched from dollars to euros to Canadian dollars to whatever else it needs to be at will, and tracked 100%. And if you talk about being able to be shut out of something, that is the system you can and may be shut out of, with no right to privacy at all for anything from an illicit activity to something as benign as you bought your wife some perfume for Christmas. It will be impossible using this currency, which is coming, which will eventually replace all cash, without the ability of the government and the banks to know exactly what you did and exactly when you did it. And cryptocurrency makes that go away. The other thing is, imagine this world where there is no cash. How do you defend your wealth from a system that can create it and take it away at will? How do you defend your holdings? It's right now the banks, they can go into the bank. They can take your money. They can do things to do that, but it's not like they can just do it. It actually requires some legal recourse. It actually requires other things. This new currency system, they'll be able to, like, some guy sitting in D.C. will just be able to go, Bill doesn't need his money anymore. And it'll happen. Well, I'll fight back, okay? You have no money for a lawyer now. And this happens already. One of my dear friends out of this audience, myself and several other members of the audience several years ago, all pitched in about $500 a piece to bail him out of a hole he was in because the state of Massachusetts took all the money out of his bank account because they said he owed money in taxes. And they took far in excess of what he actually owed. And his recourse was, good luck. Now imagine you have some portion of your wealth in cryptocurrency. You can charge up a Visa debit card and go out and spend it as though it were cash. You can spend it directly with anybody who'll take it. But there's one thing that cannot happen. No one can take it away from you. Not your keys, not your coins. That's a thing. And again, some of you have resistance. The biggest reason most of you have resistance to this is you cannot understand how it could work. How could somebody just program a bunch of shit into a computer and make a private currency that works? Okay, this is like the person who doubts the rocket works. I can't take you any further than to go down to Cape Canaveral and say, see the rocket? Feel the vibration in the ground. Watch the rocket go up in the air. Once the rocket gets out of sight, this is a video feed from the rocket. There's the capsule separating. There's our crew getting on board the space station. Here's a telescope. You can actually look up and see the space station at night. There it is, right there above your head. There it is. The person who is the no space program conspiracy theorist, that will not convince them. When it comes to cryptocurrency, we have a 15-plus year track record of doom and gloom forecast. It will all go away. The government will shut it down. It's going to go broke. They're going to hack it. 15 years of people using this currency. Never mind the ones that got rich. Forget it. Pretend it never happened. Pretend that Bitcoin came out, and when Bitcoin came out, they said, it's worth $1, it'll always be worth $1, and over 15 years, it was still worth $1. My recommendation would be the same. So you have a form of currency that, even if this is public, right? So Bitcoin can have a lot of anonymous nature to it. I can't say anonymity right now for some reason, right? It can, but in the end, you can figure out Bitcoin, where it went and who it came from. You can know, right? You can know that I have, let's say, $1 million worth of Bitcoin. Do you know what you can do to get it? Nothing. You can't get it. You could even say, we know that it's in this address. And we know this address is associated with Jack. Okay? Go ahead. Take it. Give us the keys. No. You will give us the keys. No. I don't remember what they are. I forgot. I had them written down on a piece of paper, and then I lost the piece of paper, and I can't get to them. I don't know where they are. If you can get it out, God bless you, go ahead. And someday they can look and say, look, money moved out of there. Somebody's stealing it from me. Would you please go catch them for me? I mean, think about this. There are technological attacks, like where they find an exploit in an old operating system and they lock up a company's computers because they were stupid and didn't upgrade their computers. And they say, pay us in Bitcoin. And the company gets to a point where they're like, boy, it's a risk that they won't turn it back on, but shit, and they pay them. And, $200,000 worth of Bitcoin go into this address. Everybody knows what address it is because it was public that they said send it here. It goes there. And it starts turning into other currencies, and it just and they never get that person. I'm not saying to do shit like that. I'm saying if they can't get that person, how are they going to take it away from you? So you have a form of wealth that can be public or anonymous, depending on what form you keep it in and how you behave with it, that cannot be taken from you, that has at least a 15-year track record of quote-unquote working, and is, in my opinion, the only, let me say it one more time, the only option you have to be able to conduct commerce with people that you're not standing right next to hand them something like a silver coin or a gold doubloon or whatever you're going to do in the future, that will be something that cannot be seized. Now, you really should let that sink in. And I do agree that they can make people's life miserable. They can throw you in jail for contempt of court or whatever, which is why it's important to me that I bring you technologies that are on the cutting edge, like ARRR from Pirate Chain, that I brought you on Wednesday, because it's literally invisible. When you have a public block explorer that's all zeros, good luck. I don't know what you're talking about. I don't have any of this stuff. How does this work? What do you think? I don't know. Duh. Right? And I know that the people are playing the what if. Well, what if they do this? What if they... If your aunt had balls, she'd be your uncle. You can always come up with a what if. There is no perfect solution. But I am an advocate of cryptocurrency because it is the leading way to remain free in a society that is increasingly making 1984 look like the good old days. George Orwell could never have conceived of the technocracy, the oligarch technocracy and dictatorship by fiat and control of the money that we are heading into right now. This makes 1984 look like a cakewalk. I've tried to explain this for years. Totalitarianism of the future does not look like the video version, the movie version of 1984, where everything's dark and dank and everybody's sitting in a sweatshop doing work for the great leader, and everything's skanky and danky, and even the elites, like their places are not that nice looking. No, it's shiny, it's sparkly because it's fascism. The future of technocracy is technological fascism, and it looks shiny even if it's miserable. The boot on your face has sequins on it. And the only way I know to keep options available is the ability to have a way to conduct commerce that is invisible to other people who you don't want to know about it and is a human being. I believe that is an inherent human right that you have. That inherently, if you and I want to exchange value with each other, it is nobody's fucking business. The end. Infinity. Period. Nobody's fucking business. And I use that word because it is called for there, because that's how I really, really feel. It's no one's business. And anybody who thinks otherwise is part of the problem. What if you're selling children? That is a problem in of itself. That is not about the right to privacy. The fact that something can be abused is not a justification to eliminate it. That would be like saying, well, I know most of you use guns right, but what if somebody takes a gun and shoots somebody in the face with it? Then we deal with that thing when somebody shoots somebody in the face with it. We identify that action as the problem, not because it was a gun. Because I shoot you in the face with a gun, I hit you in the face with a sledgehammer, I run over you with my car. Any of those methods have taken your life. My right for me and you to exchange value without interference or knowledge of other parties is an inherent human right. The end. So when you bring me a way that we can do that with 100% anonymous nature to it, right? I can't say that today, right? I don't know why I can't. When you bring me that, I will replace cryptocurrency with that, because cryptocurrency is the closest thing to that we have right now. Putting gold in a safe, in the concrete floor of your home, is not a terrible idea. Gold especially is a small amount, has a huge amount of value. but it's actually going to be easier to regulate and control than cryptocurrency because you have to physically possess it. I can come to your house and I can search for your gold. What are you going to search for? Numbers? For crypto? You can find numbers that are low-tech, encrypted, that you can try to use that don't work, and the only way that you can make them work is I know how to do it, and I'm not going to tell you. And those numbers don't necessarily mean what you think they mean. You have to prove that they are a thing that they're not. I could have a whole bunch of numbers around in some sort of hard copy that all don't mean anything. They might also be like a record of my diet. And somewhere in the middle of that could actually be the keys that you need to open the lock that you don't know where it is. Do that with gold and silver. Transfer $5,000 worth of value to me in gold anonymously from Europe right now. Go. See? You see how that works? This is why. I don't give a shit if every cryptocurrency right now locks its price in against US dollar and never moves again, up or down. I don't care if they all go in half. Nothing I've said changes. And again, I'm back to, you either believe that your right to conduct business with another party privately is an inherent human right, or you don't. And if you don't, you wasted 15 minutes listening to this. If you do, I'm telling you, the best option is crypto. And even though it's, like you can see it, like to get started, to learn, go to Coinbase, fill out a form, set up your bank account, a link, and then buy a couple $100 worth of Bitcoin, send it to a wallet, learn how it works, convert it to some other things, learn how it works. Get a Jaxx wallet, Jaxx, Jaxx.io, download it. But I don't like that, I don't care, get a wallet. It's just one I recommend. Start using it. Do something of value and earn cryptocurrency from somebody else and then spend it back. The thing it will do is unlock your brain from this belief, this grand illusion that only the magical Federal Reserve can make money, and understand this final thing about the banking system. The government does not own the Federal Reserve. I know that most of you are aware, at least the Federal Reserve is not a government organization, right? But the Federal Reserve, as a thing, doesn't own the banks. The banks own the Federal Reserve. One more time so you really understand why you live in a fascist economy. The banks own the Federal Reserve, full stop. They own your money. They don't just control your money. They own your money. The dollar in your bank account is literally owned by the banks who issued it through the Federal Reserve and fractional banking system. They own your money. And when they digitize it, the full reality of that will become abundantly clear very, very, very quickly. And at that point, it will be, if you wait till then to figure out how cryptocurrency works, you're going to be like the person that buys the, 5,000 survival seed vault, hermestatically sealed in a piece of PVC pipe, and sits it on the shelf and plants a garden when the crisis comes. And even if you do everything right, you're waiting a long time before you get any food. And you won't do everything right. I'm not going to talk about crypto for a while now. But going into next week where I won't be here with new content for you, I wanted to leave you with that this week.